Alright, let's talk about how Donald Trump just got stopped by a judge on his big plan to deport 1 million people a year. Yeah, you heard it right, 1 million deportations every year. Think about that. That's not immigration policy. That's Amazon Prime for deportations. One-day delivery, but instead of a package, it's your neighbor. Quick disclaimer, this is satirical commentary on the news based on a CNBC report. It's my take, no hate intended. On Friday, a federal judge in Washington, D.C. basically told Trump, nice try, but you can't just round people up and yeet them out of the country without due process. And this isn't some minor ruling. This could derail one of the centerpiece promises of Trump's second term, mass fast-track deportations. Now, the government calls it expedited removal, which is just lawyers speak for skip the judge, skip the court, just send people back. And Trump's Department of Homeland Security tried to expand it so that the ICE could deport people who've been living here for up to 2 years without ever seeing a courtroom. But Judge Cobb was like, hold up bro, that's not how the Constitution works. Now here's the background. Before Trump, expedited removal only applied to people caught within 100 miles of the border and in the US less than 14 days. So if you crossed yesterday, Border Patrol caught you, boom, expedited removal, no judge, no trial. But if you've been here a little longer or you're living in, say, Ohio, ICE couldn't just show up, say, pack your bags and put you on a plane. Trump wanted to change that. He wanted ICE to have the power to deport people who've been here up to 2 years. Think about that. That's people who are paying rent, working jobs, raising kids, and maybe even paying taxes. And here's the kicker. If ICE says you've been here less than 2 years, it's on you to prove otherwise. And if you don't have receipts, congratulations, you're gone. Judge Cobb basically said this process is way too flimsy. Her exact words, the government argues that people who entered illegally have no rights under the Fifth Amendment. And she was like, if that's true, then none of us have rights. That's huge because she's pointing out that if you let the government decide who deserves rights and when, then those rights aren't really rights anymore. They are privileges. And if the government can fast-track deportations today, what's stopping them from fast-tracking other punishments tomorrow? Like imagine if police pull you over and we're like, yeah, we don't need a trial. We're just gonna send you directly to jail. Monopoly start, do not pass, go. Do not collect $200. That's what Trump wanted for immigration. Guys, I don't hate Trump. I love him. Let's not forget, Trump campaigned on this. He promised 1 million deportations a year. That's not just a policy, that's a marketing slogan, like McDonald's, over 1 billion served. Except here it's Trump, over 1 billion deported. This is what he's selling to his base, and Judge Cobb just messed with his sales pitch. Now here's where it gets real. This ruling isn't saying expedited removal is illegal. The law itself is still valid. It works at the border. It works for people just arriving. But what Judge Cobb blocked is expanding it to the interior of the country. That's where people have built lives. That's where due process matters the most. Because if you're already living here, being part of a community, maybe even raising American kids, the idea that you can't just be disappeared overnight without a court hearing, that's chilling. And ICE has already been testing this out. Since May, officers have been waiting in hallways, arresting people right after judges dismiss their cases. Then the governor refiles under expedited removal. Think about that. You go to court, the judge says, case dismissed. You breathe a sigh of relief, and then ICE is like, no, we are still deporting you. That's like winning a game of putting down your last card, and then someone says, actually, reverse, you are still playing. And this isn't just about people who cross illegally. Judge Cobb already blocked Trump earlier this month from fast-tracking deportation of people here under humanitarian parole. These are people who enter legally because they are fleeing danger. They have been living here lawfully. And Trump's DHS was like, cool story, but we are deporting you anyway. That's like inviting someone into your house because they are running from a bear and then halfway through dinner being like, all right, thanks for coming, now get out. Bear's still outside, but that's your problem. So what's at stake here isn't just immigration. It's the question who gets due process in America. Because if the government can carve out exceptions for one group, then everyone's rights are on shaky ground. And that's why immigrant rights groups and the ACLU are suing. Because once you let speed become more important than fairness, when people get deported, families get split, and mistakes become policy. And look, immigration is complicated. Nobody's saying the U.S. doesn't need laws or a system. But the Constitution doesn't say rights for citizens only. It says no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Person, not American, not citizen, person. And Judge Cobb is reminding us of that. Meanwhile, Trump is probably furious. He wanted headlines like, Trump keeps promise, mass deportations begin. Instead, the headline is, federal judge blocks Trump, which, if you're being honest, is a sequel to like half of his presidency. Now, what happens next? This is a temporary block. The administration will appeal. This could end up at the Supreme Court. And that's where it gets dicey. Because with the current court, immigration rulings are a coin toss. Sometimes they uphold protections, sometimes they side with executive power. But in the meantime, Judge Cobb has hit pause on Trump's deportation machine. Here's the takeaway. Trump's plan wasn't just about immigration. It was about setting a precedent that rights are conditional. Conditional on how you got here. Conditional on paperwork. Conditional on what the government feels like that day. And that's dangerous because once you normalize skipping due process for one group, it becomes a lot easier to skip it for the next. So yeah, this ruling isn't just about migrants, it's about the Constitution. It's about whether America is still a country where rights are rights, or just coupons the government can clip whenever it's convenient. And that's why this matters. Because if we let Trump's plan go unchecked, expedited removal won't just be for migrants, it will be for anyone who doesn't fit the definition of deserving in whatever administration is in charge. And that's not just scary for immigrants, that's scary for all of us. So the next time someone tells you Trump's deportation plan is about law and order, remember, it's not about order, it's about speed. And when the government cares more about speed than rights, the only thing getting expedited is the end of democracy. So guys, again, a disclaimer, this is satirical commentary on the news based on a CNBC report. This is for entertainment purpose, no hate intended. If you did like this video, hit the like button, share it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe to the channel, and see you in the next one.